Pacific time. It's 9 a.m. and today I'm going to do a Facebook Live about all your questions. I'm answering all your questions about using treats in training. Um, if you have any questions about treats in movement training, I would especially like those questions. Um, my name is Sandra Poppema and I'm the founder of HippoLogic. Hippo means horse, logic means science in Greek, and I'm the creator of force-free movement training for Laminitis horses. That's my course that starts September 15. DM me if you want to know more about that. So today I'm going to do a live Q&A. Let me know that you're there by saying hi in the comments or putting an emoji in the comments, so I know you're there, and tell me where you're from. It's live video. The cat is trapped under the screen that I have here for reparation. Um, so I've had two questions, so I'll start with Lisa's question. She said, unhulled peanuts for metabolic type horses are recommended sometimes by people. And she said, what are your thoughts on this? They would certainly be a very good size reward to train with in moderation. That's Lisa's question. So about if unhulled peanuts are good or bad for laminitis horses, I really can't answer that. My expertise is positive reinforcement training, and I have heard about using peanuts as treats. I don't know if I would recommend them for laminitis or metabolic horses because I don't know. It's not their natural food. So I would definitely ask a nutritionist, equine nutritionist, about that, if they're good or bad, or what to take into consideration. You say they would certainly be a very good size reward to train with in moderation. That is true. You can also use smaller size and then just a few treats. And it also depends on the size of your horse. If these would fit your horse. So I'm sorry, I don't go into nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist. I specialized in training. The second question is from Kim. I see that there's people there watching. Hello, welcome, and please put an emoji in the comments so I know you're there. Kim said she had a question about what can I use for treats. Cucumber and celery pieces add up quick. Any thoughts or suggestions? P.S. I'm in the United States. Usually I am a little bit careful of recommending commercial horse treats. First of all, the size is usually pretty big. And they contain often molasses or some other sugary content to make them extra enticing. Having said that, cucumber and celery add up quick. I don't know, but I think there's not that much calories in cucumber and celery. So my question would be, how much do you use in a training session? Um, does your horse get bored by them? Because as long as your horse wants to work for them, then what's the downside? If it's not too many calories, but maybe there's something else about using cucumber and celery for your horse. Um, we have another viewer. Welcome. Please put an emoji in the comments and tell me where you're from, because I will answer also your questions. And I had two questions. So if there's no questions, this will be a short live video. So for Kim, um, what can I use for treats? Depending on your horse, like give me a little bit more background information about that. I think cucumber and celery If your horse loves them, if your horse wants to work for them, um, keep using them because they're very low in calories. Um, so, yeah, that's my opinion about that. Anybody else wants to type in a question in the chat? Because that's what I'm here for. Otherwise, I go on to a long rant about why it's so beneficial to use treats in training, and especially for laminitis horses or overweight horses. And I want to give you a chance to ask a question, your question. I don't know if the chat even works. 4 comments. Oh, there are 4 comments. What happens? 5 comments, and I don't see them. Where are the comments? Because I see insights, I see comments, and then I see comments, but I can't find them. Oh, there are the comments. Oh, phew. People are here. Awesome. Okay, yeah, great. Eva says hi Eva. Shannon, hi Shannon, from the US. June from Oregon. Eva, Friesland, the Netherlands, and Janet from Langley, BC. Yeah, love BC. Eva, is there a limit on how much treats you can give? Oh, that's a good question. There will be a limit because the limit is either, especially if you have an overweight horse or a horse with laminitis, it's too much is too much. But usually the limit is when your horse is not interested in them anymore. So there's like a balance. It depends on what your goal is. Is your goal um, uh, exercising your horse and let him lose weight? Then you also have to take into consideration their calorie rich treats. Then you just don't want to give too much of them, and you also want to give them a little bit of lower calorie treats so you can balance it out. So it's not like, okay, you give X amount of you give X amount of treats, but the movement you get into return doesn't burn all those calories off, which is like the aim of movement training, of course. So to me, it depends on the situation. I recommend, especially in the beginning when horses are taught new behaviors, be very generous. So for the horse, there's not you cannot give really too much because they are built to eat 16 hours out of 24. So they're kind of always interested in food. When your horse, yeah, when you notice that your horse doesn't offer more of the behavior or longer duration of that certain behavior that you are training, or that he's not even taking the treats, then yeah, then it was too much, or this particular kind of treat was too much, and then you have to switch it off, switch it with another treat. I've had it like when I was riding Kira in the beginning, and I always gave her hay pellets. No, hay cubes. So that's compressed hay cubes. And when I was in the saddle, she was just not interested. When I clicked, she did stop, but when I offered a treat, she didn't take it. So yeah, that went for a few clicks. But then I thought it's great that she stops, and maybe the stopping and the break is reinforcing enough for her. But I didn't want to take any chances, so I switched my reinforcers and gave her something else that she was interested in. So basically, Eva, there's not really a limit. Oh, I know your Eva is your horse's name, I believe, but that's okay. Uh, your suggestions last time about this is June. about using 1 or 2 pellets for my mini and then a larger jackpot for later has helped me immensely with the weight situation. Also, the fact, thank you. I'm glad to hear some feedback and that it really works for you and for your horse because that's the aim, right? Um, Also, the fact that I weigh a certain amount of pellets for training for the day that is deducted from his total feed. That's also something that I recommend because then you don't have to feel guilty. You know exactly what you're feeding. um, and you know that he probably won't gain weight because he will get that amount of food anyway. So if he has to work for it, you know you're on the right track. After it's gone, the session stops for the day no matter what. I really appreciate these suggestions because I think everything needs to be modified for minis. Yes, everything needs to be modified for every individual horse. Um, yeah, that's it. And that's why, like for instance, in my September course, just shameless plug here, which starts November 15, and it's called For Free Movement for Laminitis Horses. The reason that I have a limited amount of seats available is that my aim is to tailor the principles of positive reinforcement to each and every combination, horse-human combination, because maybe one participant has a mini, so you can't feed handful of pellets. Maybe the other one isn't allowed to work at liberty in the arena. So yeah, by offering individual coaching tailored to that specific combination of horse and human and their environment and what they're allowed to do, and that's what I love doing um, in courses, because otherwise we could just read the book and follow the steps and the rules, but that's just unfortunately not how it works, especially with minis. I have 2 minis. I've had them for only 1.5 years, um, but it's true, like in general all the information, sorry about that, is about normal sized horses, and also in general healthy horses. So how do we tailor that information and make it work for our situation with our horses? That's what I really always like to help people with. So yeah, thanks for your suggestion and your question, Jude. Anybody else has a question or want to talk about treats in training? So just if you think of something, type it in and I will answer all questions as long as I'm on the live call. I don't see any more questions, so I hope I've answered everything. The reason that I use positive reinforcement, um, which means using appetitives, something the horse wants to work for, is that it will become more of a choice for the horse. And because you work with appetitives, an appetitive is per definition something the horse wants to have. So he wants to gain something, which is food or something else that is highly reinforcing and highly rewarding for him. Also, when you allow your horse to say no in training, they will start communicating more, not only more, often it is more, but also we start to listen more. So, okay, we are training the horse at liberty with positive reinforcement. So that means that we tell the horse, like, okay, you did this so good, here's a treat. And then the horse will think, in order to get a treat, I will repeat the behavior. So that's in short, very short, general, how positive reinforcement works. So when we are working at liberty with our horses and a horse walks away, then that gives us feedback about the training, and it can be a lot of different things. Can be like, okay, for Kira and me, there were like blackberry bushes around the outdoor arena. So when I was there with my hay cubes and she was wandering off for the higher value blackberry leaves, that gave me information like, okay, my treats are too low in value. She's not interested in the treats. She's allowed, she's free to go anywhere, and she chooses to go there. Then there were sometimes situations where she wandered off and she showed me that she had a pain or there was something bothering her, and those are all kinds of feedback that if you listen to your horse, you enhance the bond with your horse because your horse will notice like, oh, my human starts to listen to me, um, and of course, then you can help your horse better. Any questions? Yes. I will soon start your course. I enjoy it already. First, I want to see all the films and then start. Well, I'm super happy that you like it. Um, Eva's not doing the force-free movement training for lemonitis horses, but she's doing another course um, from me. So I don't see any more questions. So I think this was just a short one. I would think there would be more questions about this. In the course, we will talk about topics like treats in training, how much do you use, when to fade them out, how to fade them out, can you replace the treats for something else, how do you do that. In the course, it's especially about how do you do this. In the course, we will talk about, I will help you implement everything um, to your situation. So if you like to hear more about that, just send me a DM or say me in the channel in the comments. I will DM you, and before I DM you, I will send you a friendship request because otherwise Facebook will hide my messages from you. At least that's what Facebook's doing to me. So yeah, if you want to chat with me over DM, make sure that you're befriending me, um, so that makes the communication a little bit smoother. Um, let's see. Any more questions? No more questions. Well, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have another question about force-free movement training for horses, especially for lemonitis horses, put them in the group because this was also one of the ideas that one of the questions that somebody had, and I noticed that a lot of people have questions about using treats in training, especially for overweight horses. Um, oh, one more thing. The reason that I love positive reinforcement, especially for overweight horses, is movement training and exercise is already aversive. They already don't like it to start with. So if we force our horses to do something they already find very difficult to do because it's physically a challenge, maybe for some horses, or they don't like it, then that will influence the horse human relationship because then the horses think, oh, there she is with the halter. I know what's coming. I'm going that way. Well, if you use positive reinforcement, especially for things that they don't like to do, they will change their mind about movement because they know there's something, they have a choice, they get control, they get control over their own body to move or not to move. So that gives us feedback about, hmm, okay, this doesn't work. And that we can ask ourselves the question, how can we make it better for a horse so that it does work, so that he wants to move. For instance, that's one of the reasons why I don't work on a circle. I don't do round penning. I don't do lunging. I don't do reverse round penning. That's a specific positive reinforcement slash clicker training exercise. For this very simple reason is movement is already hard for overweight horses. Moving on a circle is especially hard. Like a circle in dressage is one of the is 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 a very difficult exercise. Why? Because the horse has to bend his whole body, and there's a lot of stress on the inner hind leg to yeah, to move in a circle, on a circle. And when movement is already hard and aversive, I wouldn't recommend choosing an exercise that is super difficult for horses to begin with. Horses are made to, yeah, run straight, maybe change direction um, on a dime, to play or to escape predators. But in the wild, you will never see them walking in circles, like more than a few circles. Yeah, maybe they are trotting around something, or but that's not like the way they choose to move themselves. They like to move in straight lines. So that's something um, that's part of their natural behavior. And I also always compare it with ourselves. Like if we want to start jogging or running, we don't start in our living room running in circles. We go outside and we choose a straight line. Why? Because it's so much easier. So that's one of the things that, yeah, I take into consideration. Like what is easy for the horse, what makes it more likely to make it more fun for the horse. So then it becomes more likely that he will repeat that behavior, in this case, forward movement, so that you can get more of that. And eventually, you get so much forward movement with such a long duration that then they start to burn the calories and then they start to lose weight. That's another thing of positive reinforcement. The beginning stages of training a behavior, especially movement, when it's very aversive, it doesn't look like anything like the goal behavior. When you use negative reinforcement, for instance, traditional training, natural horsemanship, where you have a training stick or a whip, you basically force your horse. So it doesn't really matter if he doesn't want to do it, if he likes to do it, he has to do it because there's no choice, because otherwise there will be a consequence that he really, 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 really wants to avoid. Um, so with negative reinforcement, like training one, it looks like exercise. It looks like trot, canter, whatever you're demanding from your horse. In positive reinforcement, we ask. So therefore, you use a cue to ask a behavior, and then there's a choice. So if the horse chooses no, you get the feedback, and then it's to us trainers to figure out how can we make it better. My horse Kira, she didn't want to move at all. That's why she became overweight. Other part of the reason is that she had metabolic syndrome. But by using positive reinforcement, she really changed from a whoa horse that was super hard to motivate and that I struggled with for so long, into a horse that really wanted to move forward, that offered forward movement. So that was a big change. So that's the reason why I'm super enthusiastic about using positive reinforcement to exercise overweight horses, laminitis horses, because it works so well and it really works long time. Because even if you would not train for a year and you would start training, the horse thinks, I know what's coming, this is fun. So everything you teach with positive reinforcement, well, everything you teach with negative reinforcement, they will remember too. But in negative reinforcement, the horse will always try to do less, and that's in general. Yeah, you have to use your legs, uh, leg aids and other aids in a repetitive way. Like, okay, you ask walk, and then the horse slows down, and you ask walk again, and the horse slows down, and walk again, horse slows down. You don't have that if you train that well in positive reinforcement. Well, you wouldn't have that if you would train it well in negative reinforcement, um, if the aversive is simply big enough. Anyway, I think June says, can I set up a square with just cones, and uh, does the square need to be a minimum size? I don't have a large clear area to work in. I always suggest, like what I just said, like the beginning of the exercise doesn't look like anything like the end result. The video that I've shared, I've built that up. In positive reinforcement, we call that shaping a behavior. Um, so you split that goal behavior, like, yay, we make a large rectangle because a rectangle has 4 lines, 4 sides. Um, and it's easier for the horse because every time he has a bend and made a turn, he can relax on a straight line, his body. So this is outside the this Q&A, because this is really about, this would be kind of a coaching question. Um, but to give you an answer, I wouldn't I wouldn't start with setting up a square. I would split it down, make a shaping plan. How can you um, split it up in smaller pieces so that your horse would understand what he has to do? Because if you don't do that, if you don't split it up, then you're lumping and you're asking, for instance, to go from step 1 to step 8. So then there's a gap in the horse's knowledge and experience and understanding. So that is setting yourself up for failure. It's like having a 6 or 7 year old child, grade 1, maybe they have practiced some alphabet letters at home or in kindergarten, but it would be the same as giving a 6 or 7 year old a book and say, start reading. No, they have to learn the alphabet first. They have to learn the symbols, because that's the letters. Then they have to learn which symbol is attached to which sound in speech. So the visual and the speech has to be connected. And then they have to learn that sometimes a C is pronounced like an S, and sometimes as a K. So there's a lot to learn in order before we can read. And that's the same with complex exercises like the at liberty rectangle. Yeah, you can try with a rectangle because or with a square, and the size, yeah, it depends on your horse. So that's the answer. It all depends. And I would invite you to a call, to an assessment, and then we can see what keeps you back. But yeah, there's no harm in just trying it, and then your horse will give you feedback what you have to change. So yeah, have fun. I don't see any more questions, so I'll leave it at this. Um, I'll maybe do another Q&A next week. If you have a topic that you would like a Q&A about, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. For now, happy horse training.